my name's Amina Khan and I'm a consulting hypnotist here in Dubai. And I'm going to talk to you today about what is hypnosis, how does it work, and how it can help us to really connect to our inner self and to the core reasons behind why we're suffering from the problems that we're suffering from, and how we can neutralize the cause of our problems in our subconscious mind. So in order to understand hypnosis, you have to understand how the mind works. So we have three distinct aspects to our mind. First of all, there's the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is what takes care of our automatic body functions, our immune system, our heartbeat, things of that order. We don't have to think about our heart beating, but our unconscious mind is taking care of it, so it's part of our mind. Then there's the subconscious mind. And that's the part of the mind that we're really interested in hypnosis. That's the part of the mind that we access through hypnosis. And that's the part of the mind that has our emotions, our feelings, our habits. All of these things are very difficult to change through just consciously thinking about it. It's very difficult you have an emotion, you're feeling angry and you're thinking, I shouldn't really be feeling angry, but you can't rationalize yourself out of an emotion that's there in your subconscious mind for a reason. And so logic is part of the conscious mind, which we'll come to. But logical thinking is a very difficult way of changing emotions, changing feelings, changing habits. So our subconscious mind is also where our permanent memory is. So what I mean by that is the subconscious mind is like a video camera. It records everything since day dot. Everything that's ever happened to you, every sight, every smell, every sound is recorded, is there in your subconscious mind. And all of these things that we've been through, whether we consciously remember them or not, every single moment of our life is there in our subconscious, and it affects who we are today, why we respond to the things that happen in our lives in the way that we respond. Something may happen to me and the same thing may happen to you, but we'll respond in very different ways because of our subconscious programming. So our subconscious mind also is the protective part of our mind, and it protects us against danger. But where we get in trouble is that it protects us against danger, whether that danger is real or imagined. The subconscious can't tell the difference between a real danger and something that it is imagined to be a danger. So the best, easiest way that I find to describe what it is that I'm talking about when I say this is if you think of somebody who has a phobia. I don't know if any of you suffer from phobias, but some people who have phobias, they can be phobias of the most mundane things. Some people have phobias of cats, clowns, snakes, all sorts of things. And that person who suffers from that phobia, logically, they know that that thing is not a danger to them. Say it's a clown. They know, logically, that it's just a guy dressed up in some funny clothes. But that doesn't stop them from having a phobic response, from sweating, from feeling very uncomfortable, from perhaps having a panic attack. And they just have to get out of that room as soon as they can. Their response to a clown is the same as it would be to a tiger, because their subconscious mind has imagined that that thing is a danger, and it can't tell the difference between something that is real and something that it has imagined for whatever reason. And so it responds in a way that's inappropriate. Then there's the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is the analytical part of the mind, the part of the mind that sees a problem, thinks of a logical way of dealing with it, and goes forward with a logical solution. So the conscious mind also has our temporary memory. So what I mean by that is just the normal memory, what we think of as our memory. The things that we remember are there in our conscious mind, but the rest of everything is in our subconscious mind. Our conscious mind is logical and rational. So we are rational creatures. We have to give ourselves reasons why we do the things that we do. Because if we didn't have reasons, we'd feel very uncomfortable. I'm doing something, I don't know why. We give ourselves reasons for why we do the things that we do. So I'm going to go with the example of smokers. I see a lot of smokers, and they all have all sorts of reasons. I smoke because when I get bored, I smoke. I smoke because it alleviates stress. I smoke when I'm on breaks at work. All these reasons, and they all sound very rational, very logical, and they make that person, aside from the kind of myth of physical addiction, which I won't go into, but that's another aspect of it, that people say that I'm addicted, but they also say that I smoke because of boredom, stress, all these kinds of things. Now, it's very interesting that they come up with these types of things, because if you think about it, nicotine is a stimulant. So to say that I'm going to take a stimulant to deal with stress, it doesn't really make sense. Or if you say, I'm smoking in order to alleviate boredom, well the action of smoking kind of over and over, it's quite repetitive, and you might say that it could be quite boring. And I'm not just talking about smoking. All of the too much things like eating too much, drinking too much, gambling, all of these types of activities that people do, they generally give themselves a reason why they do that activity. And it's a conscious mind reason. But the real reason that they do this is not the reason that they've given themselves with the conscious mind. There's something in there, in the subconscious mind, that's driving it. And it's got everything to do with security. Now, when a child is born, if they're lucky enough, they'll get that level of security that they need from their parents, from their family, from the people who are bringing them up. And then when they hit around the teenage years, something happens. Parents aren't cool enough, they feel they need to get this security from somewhere else. And that's, in teenage years is when friends become really, really important. I need my friends, I need my group at school. And funnily enough, the subconscious mind knows, okay, it's my job to uphold this minimum level of security. I have to have that security above and beyond anything else. And different things may start to happen. Their subconscious mind might notice, okay, the people who are smoking seem to be part of a group, they're part of a gang, they're secure, they're accepted. And if that person's subconscious mind has kind of cottoned on to that, then that person might, the next time they see some people smoking, they might have one. And then all of a sudden they're accepted by that group, and their internal security goes through the roof. They might be coughing and thinking this tastes disgusting, but all of a sudden they've got this attention. So that person's subconscious mind places a link between that action, smoking a cigarette, and that feeling secure, feeling part of a gang. Now 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, that person doesn't need smoking for security, but their subconscious mind has held on to that link, has held on to that idea that smoking has something to do with keeping them secure. So what we do in hypnosis is we bypass the factor of the subconscious mind to get those ideas into the subconscious, that this person you don't need smoking anymore, you've got this, that, and the other that we can replace it with. And it goes deeper than that. So the subconscious mind is where our permanent memory is, which means that the subconscious mind knows why we're suffering from the problems that we're suffering from, and it knows how to get rid of those problems. So what we do through hypnosis is we find the cause of the issue, find the cause, and then neutralize that cause. Figure out how to go about neutralizing that cause, be it through working with your inner child, forgiveness. There's all types of ways of neutralizing the cause of that issue in the first place. And once you've done that, you have permanent positive change, be it changing bad habits, changing emotions, negative cycles, spirals. All sorts of these things can be alleviated through going back to the root, going back to what it was that caused that negative issue to start in the first place. So I'm going to give you a quick example of this in the clinical. So I was working with a lady a little while back, and she came to me and said that she was having problems sleeping. So she had sleeping problems. She was in her 40s, and she'd been having sleeping problems for as long as she could remember, or she thought maybe around about the teenage years that it started. But it had been getting progressively worse and worse and worse over the years, and it got to the point where she was taking a really long time to fall asleep in the first place, and then when she did fall asleep, she would wake up multiple times through the night. She tried all sorts of methods to get rid of this, from cleaning up the bedtime routine, chamomile tea, taking baths. She'd even seen a doctor and been prescribed sleeping pills, but she didn't want to go down that route. She didn't want to be dependent on pharmaceuticals. So she came to me, and through hypnosis, through going back in the subconscious mind, we found that the root of her issue actually started when she was a very young girl, when she was 4 years old, in fact. And she, when she was young, she lived in England in a farmhouse with her family, and in that farmhouse they had a fireplace in the living room. And that fireplace was allowed to burn, the fire was allowed to burn all night long to keep the house warm. It's cold in England. So the fire would burn every night, and that's how it was. Now one evening she was down in the living room and the fire was burning and her father was tending to the fire, and there was a very small accident. The fire, a log kind of overspilled a little bit and it caught onto something just outside the fireplace. It was all very, very, it got under control in a matter of under a minute. Her father had it under control, and they never really thought about it after that. There was not much attention given to this episode. It was really quite a minor episode. But what happened in that time, what happened in the subconscious mind of that young girl in that moment, is that her subconscious mind came to this belief that nighttime is dangerous because the fire is burning all night. So that she didn't consciously realize that she had thought that, but this is what had gone into the subconscious mind of this young girl. Now, she didn't have sleeping problems immediately. She continued to sleep well for the next few years, but her sleeping problems actually started, we discovered this also through the hypnosis, that the sleeping problems started when she started going to boarding school. When she was about 12 or 13, she started boarding school, and that's when the sleeping problems started. And the reason for that is because her subconscious mind had kind of taken on this understanding that nighttime is dangerous, but it had also had this understanding that my parents, my father will protect me, so I don't need to worry about nighttime, I'm safe. Then when she got to boarding school, her subconscious mind kicked in and said, nighttime is dangerous, my parents aren't here to protect me, therefore I'm going to stay awake, or I'm not going to allow myself to sleep very much. Because it was the protective part of her mind that was keeping her awake, because it believed, it had this false belief, just like the false belief in somebody who's phobic of clowns or spiders, and has this belief that I need to protect you by keeping you awake. And so that's what it was doing, and that's why she wasn't able to sleep. So through doing a little bit of work with her inner child, letting her inner child know that actually she's safe, that keeping her awake isn't protecting her, and actually her subconscious mind can protect her further by allowing her to sleep, allowing her to get that, as we've heard, sleep is so important, and so reinstilling this idea in her subconscious mind that actually it will be doing a better job protecting her by allowing her to sleep. And she did really well, and now she's sleeping just fine. So that was just a little example. There's so many different issues that you would never think have anything to do with some random event that happened when you were young. She vaguely remembered this fire when she was small, but she never realized that she'd put any emotional attachment to it. She never realized that it had any significance at all. But it did, and had such a great one. And so there's all sorts of things, whether it could be so minor, but oftentimes something happens when you're very young and it plays a big impact, and we never know unless we go in there and find it. So thank you so much for listening, and good night.